very silent. I'm very silent and my back's to the wall. I keep my mouth shut, only breathing at all. The biggest officer that you ever seen. Mean as the devil and his cooking for me. Oh. Gallows money. Papa always told me that. Gallows money.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais. And on the sandy shores of who knows where, Mr. Sean Keenan.
Oh, hey, Heidi has sand in her, you know what.
Toes. Walking through the beach with the toes. Yeah, that's the ticket. That's what we're selling. So Bruce is out yet again, but don't worry, he'll be back, and we'll talk about what we're doing next week. But if you're a smart HMPer, chances are you probably know. It's just Sean and I again this week, and so instead of doing a big giant superhero movie where Adam would have to do some research to do a big giant comic book connection, we decided to review Super from James Gunn. And so the big thing is, to me, is like, I'll be honest, because Bruce is great. He does the comic connection and everything. And
he does all the research.
I just can't, you know me. I don't do enough research. Like, it was a pain in the neck to do a Stallone connection enough, much less to actually go through and do proper now, God knows I've got time now, but but yet still I chose not to. So we'll be talking about James Gunn's Super this week, everybody. So sit back and enjoy yourself. But we got to talk about a couple of things here, Sean. We don't have any new iTunes reviews, but we do have a couple of emails and such. And they're also kind of a little bit telling as to why we don't have, some 5-star reviews. This one is from Alex. It is entitled, One of My Favorites. Howdy, boys. I'm a little late to the HMP game. I've been vigilantly, I don't know that that's the right word to use, but I'm a dummy, so you're probably right and I'm wrong. Vigilantly digging through your back catalog of previous episodes, and I have to say, you guys certainly bring it. I had to drive 12 hours a few months ago, and it took me 11 episodes of HMP to get there.
Yowza.
That's an insane man right there. I thoroughly enjoy how each of you have your own flavor that you bring to the show. Oh, geez, I hate saying this next part. In particular, Sean's humorous wit is equal to none. Gross. Disgusting. I'd love to go through to iTunes and give you a humdinger, but I am anti-Apple and refuse to support its rising sentient existence when John Connor ultimately creates Skynet for them and humans become obsolete. Keep up the great work.
He is not wrong. That is
super.
the way it's going to happen. Some people just lean into it, and some people don't.
Yeah, I'm leaning in, sadly.
Me too.
I can't help it. That's Alex from Canada. Alex, thanks for the email, buddy.
Alex, thank you very much, man. Although I will tell you, if you're listening to the show this week, Adam and I have the exact same experience, and we are going to be very like-minded, almost hive mind, when it comes to this show, the show this week, and the movie in particular.
Yeah, we've got experiences.
It is the same.
Very much so. We have another one. We got another email. This one is from a gentleman who goes by the name of Hobbs. I don't think this is the Rock's small little dog. I don't know that dog would have the capabilities with which to type an email, but that's what I'd like to picture.
Is it Calvin's imaginary tiger?
He's got more opposable thumbs than that little dog does, so maybe.
That is true.
That
is true.
Good point. Hobbs writes, great show last week on the Fantastic Four documentary. I was reminded when you guys were talking about the searches for hard-to-find films and movies. There's one that I've been trying to see for some time, and I've never been able to get my hands on it. A couple of years back, they tried to get a show made for the comic Lock and Key, one of my favorite comics of the last several years. A pilot was shot but never picked up. There was a screening at a convention, but I've never been able to get my hands on it. Word is it wasn't great, but I still want to see it. Anyway, all of your shows are great. I recently started the Film Find too, so now I have more than anyone should of your brand of entertainment. Thanks, Hobbs. No, Hobbs, thank you, buddy. Yeah, man. There's always that kind of those elusive things, man, that are every
the chasers. I mean, it's all part of the nerd life. Where it used to be a lot more prevalent, where you had that thing where, man, I wish I could see that, and you can't. And there's not nearly as many of those as there used to be, but man, it makes it that much more special now when you do find them. And to me, Fantastic Four was one of those moments, And
I'll say this: with the advent of the internet and everything, if you can't find something now, that's like real, Ark of the Covenant kind of thing.
Oh wow! What a great way to put that, man. That is exactly what it's like. It's exactly like Ark of the Covenant, and it feels like your face is melting off when you do find them.
Well, no, I think when you finally have to watch that Fantastic Four Roger Corman movie, your face melts off and goes, "No, God, why? Why did I do that?"
It is bad. I mean, I did say this last week. It's a very bad movie, but there's something about it where it doesn't feel like you're wasting your time. It's not like when you're watching some really something that no one cared about. A lot of people cared about that movie, and that's what makes it special.
It's face-meltingly delicious. Now, Sean, we don't go on to it big on the show here, but I got to ask you, and I didn't ask you before the show, and I probably should have before we started recording. But did you? I know you and I don't normally on a regular basis. But because of the high profile, did you happen to catch the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Ghost Rider?
I actually did. I saw it this week.
I did too. What did you think?
The problem with that show, as you know, is for me, are the supporting characters. Right. I think that Coulson is an amazing character. The difference between this year and every other year of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is that this is the first year they have someone that I give a crap about.
An iconic Marvel character.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so for the first time, I'm watching Coulson. Coulson has nothing to do with what's going on with Ghost Rider. Mm-hmm. That girl, wow, she sure is pretty, but, I don't give a crap about that character.
Right.
The character of Daisy is someone who is completely insignificant to the Marvel Universe. But when she runs up against Ghost Rider, not only did I like it, I think they did it really well. I think that the way that they handled the character is different from what I expected, but two, what I think is the routine of that character. And so giving that character something completely different, he's based in LA, it's car culture stuff. Mm-hmm. That was a really smart move by them, and I really liked that show. That episode last week is the first time probably ever I've ever watched that show and gone, wow, that actually matters.
Yeah,
that's
and you're like,
actually matters.
I want to see what they're going to do next week with this Ghost Rider thing, and it's kind of what I think you're right. I'm on the same level. Is all the time I've been really going, I just want something. Again, you're right. Something that matters. Something that I really relate to on screen. And while the idea of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is cool, it's like you really got to have that execution and stuff in there. And now they'd never get him because he's too big of a name and too busy. Well, I say that, but you could probably park a lot of money in his driveway and he'd do it. But if Sam Jackson was like the head of this TV show, you'd watch.
Oh, completely. Yes, I totally agree with you. But here's the problem: is that a lot has happened on this show because I do check in from time to time, mm-hmm. and a lot has happened on this show, and none of it matters at all. Like it doesn't affect anyone else anywhere. The show itself is affected by the events of the Marvel Universe, which I actually do like. Like, I've always liked that. When Winter Soldier came out, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. completely flipped on a dime. And this year, too, with the Sokovia Accords, like, that's a really nice move.
Yeah.
And that means somewhere in the Marvel, somewhere at Marvel, there is a story team.
At least somewhat. That they're going. At least I've heard there's some struggles with them really trying to get a bit more of the cinematic type storylines in everything. But for what they're doing, it's okay. And I'll be honest with you, but it is, to me, it's also like, it's very much like a soap opera. I skipped entirely season 2, not one episode. I fall back in. I know pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah.
Luke and Laura are still having problems.
Exactly. And much like a soap opera, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
None of it matters. And so this year, with the advent of Ghost Rider, it feels like, hey, someone's going to have to start paying attention to what's going on in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because this is going to matter somewhere. And, the CG of Ghost Rider looked great.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, they did the smart move of they basically made Ghost Rider like Jaws, where you don't really see him that much, but that's the point of it.
And I think they did a good job of because I'm not like a fan of I don't know if it's how current it is, but I've seen some other of the new Ghost Rider stuff with this character and everything, and I don't dig the style, but it kind of took a little bit of that and traditional Ghost Rider and kind of melded them together, which I thought it looked pretty good. And you're right, the effects were decent. I'm actually interested in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Dr. Dan Dude's rolling over in his grave right now.
Yeah, he actually is. You're right.
He's like, these fools they've gone forever, not talked about this show, the show that I love with all of my heart and soul. And then now you finally get on? Yeah, it takes something interesting to get us on board with that. Heaven forbid.
Yeah, do something that matters, and I will pay attention to your show. Exactly.
Speaking of things that matter, it really matters to us, especially with the situation that I'm in right now, that you guys head on down to patreon.com/HMP. We've added some new stuff in. I don't know if you follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/HeroMoviePodcast. You'll have seen this. So anyone who donates to our Patreon, even if it's $1, right? You guys are going to be able to vote every single month on a movie that we cover. So right now, the movies that we're going to be, kind of, I don't want to say auctioning off. That's not really what you guys will be voting on in the next couple of days here. So first we have Ghost World, famous kind of not as famous as it should be, I don't think. So we got Ghost World, The Mask with Jim Carrey. We got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990, Daredevil from 2003, or Batman Mask of the Phantasm. So you got a wide range of stuff to choose from. And if you go to patreon.com, even if you throw down $1, you'll be able to vote on that. And if you donate higher, obviously there's going to be more things for you guys. I'm putting out brand new content every single week now because I'm going to level with you HMPers. I don't got a job no more. So while Adam's trying to put his financial life together, he's got a little bit of extra time on his hands. So I'm creating stuff for you guys. So that's why you're able to see new videos and stuff on the Facebook page, on our YouTube channel, and all that kind of good stuff. We're adding more things. I plan to, kind of expand that and make things bigger and better. And, you guys helping out would make sure that kind of stuff keeps on keeping on. You know what I mean? So patreon.com/HMP, and we'd really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And it's not like Adam is in a dire situation.
Not yet.
It would help. So thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got to do, and we got a couple people that have we're even regular Patreon people, and they even up their stuff up a little bit, and I appreciate that for you guys and everything. But associate executive producers and all that kind of good stuff. Again, I cannot tell you how much that means to all of us here, and we just kind of want to keep making new stuff for you guys. That's all. So let's get into it, Sean. This week we're going to be reviewing. Everyone knows James Gunn at this point. He's kind of a household name to a degree, and whoever thought that would be a thing.
I know, no kidding, right? The fact that he used to be married to the lady from The Office,
Jenna Fisher,
before he was famous. Good job by him. That's how you do it.
And then this movie plays into that, I believe.
I think that's part of it. I totally agree with you, and we'll get into that.
So let's go ahead and do it. Here is the trailer for Super.
Frank.
I knew I was losing her.
Excuse me. Have you seen my wife?
I don't think she wants to see you anymore.
What? Sarah!
Don't touch my car again. I'm going. That's not the kind of touching I meant.
Jock, he stole my wife. Can you arrest him?
Sometimes it's better just to accept these things.
Batman, Batarang, pipe bombs, utility belt.
Utility belt.
Green Arrow has a bow and arrow.
Okay.
Why do you need all those?
I'm making up my own superhero. He needs a weapon. That'll do.
Cool.
All it takes to be a superhero is the choice to fight evil. Shut up, crime.
Don't steal. Don't deal drugs. Don't molest kids.
Brutal assault by the Crimson Bolt continued last night.
Are you him?
No.
That's cool. I could be your kid's sidekick. Ta-da! How do I look?
That's inappropriate.
Frank is the only thing that will save me.
We will take those suckers down.
That's good.
Let's do this.
You just sit here and wait for crime to happen?
That's right.
This is so boring.
Yes, I can tell you now it's looking.
You're supposed to kill him!
I'm just learning. You have to teach me these things.
This is not about good and evil. This is about she loved me more because I am interesting.
Yeah! Shut up, crime! Face the wrath of the Crimson Bolt!
All right, that was a trailer for Super, our retro review of this week from 2010. Written and directed by James Gunn. Here's the IMDb plotline. After his wife falls under the influence of a drug dealer, an everyday guy transforms himself into the Crimson Bolt, a superhero with the best intentions but lacking in heroic skills. This is starring Rainn Wilson, Ellen Page, Liv Tyler, Kevin Bacon, Greg Henry, Michael Rooker, Andre Royo, Sean Gunn, Linda Cardellini, Nathan Fillion, and more. By 2010, James Gunn was not the, like I said, not the biggest of household names and everything. He'd done a lot of writing and stuff, going all the way back to Tromeo and Juliet.
Wow, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he was part of that.
Well, that's why Lloyd Kaufman is all in all of his movies and everything, man, is because, you know, he kind of brought him into the fold and everything.
Wow.
And it was interesting talking with Lloyd Kaufman at Dragon Con last year. He was just like, listen, I taught him everything he knows.
I don't believe that.
And he's just like, he's like, you if you see him, you tell them that I belong in every one of these Guardians movies. Lloyd's just the nicest dude, man. Yeah, so this was like his big directorial debut and everything. And like we'd said last week, my big thing with James Gunn was I was a huge fan of the Dawn of the Dead remake. Directed by Zack Snyder, and like you said, I think is Zack Snyder's best movie. And so really taking that, you know, kind of really beloved George Romero classic and kind of, you know, doing the same thing but very different at the same time.
But here's the thing with that is that there's a way, there is a chasm between writing something and directing something.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you know, I didn't know that I'll be honest with you, I didn't know that James Gunn wrote that script. But now that you've said that after last week, I can totally see where James Gunn wrote that script.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he not really directed a whole bunch. Now, in 2006, and I'm actually quite proud of this statement. Of all of his major releases, I've seen every one of James Gunn's movies in the theater, and that includes 2006 Sliver, which was a great horror movie. Just a lot of fun.
That movie is surprisingly good for what that movie is.
Yeah, just super. I mean, pretty low budget and everything, but you got the James Gunn staple of Michael Rooker in there. So how can you go wrong? And that's the thing. This guy, he's been like a lot of these other people, where they have just kind of a stable of character actors that they go to for all these movies, including Nathan Fillion, Michael Rooker, and and the like. And so when this came out in 2008, I was like, oh, we've got to go see this. There was only one place in Charlotte that was playing. It was at the Epicenter, which is really, really weird because that's like, just the most standard affair goes to that theater. So I was like, well, we're going. And I got to say, I was quite surprised at what I saw.
I did not see this movie in the movie theater. I can't remember where I saw it. I want to say that with the subscription service to Netflix is where I saw it. Mm-hmm. But I had seen it before this show this week. But I didn't remember much about it. I remember thinking, wow, that's a quirky movie. After watching it this week, this might be the weirdest movie we've seen for H&P, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's pretty odd and out there and very of kind of, and this is why when somebody said, hey, James Gunn's going to be doing Guardians of the Galaxy, I was all on board. I was like, this is a guy who's got a weird enough taste. He's already done a superhero movie, while it's not, related to any specific book or anything. He knows what it's all about. He's a funny dude. He's got a lot of, interesting stuff in the movies that it has. Even Slither has a lot of comedy in it. Yeah. So the guy likes making people laugh. But this thing was just, and you're right. It had been a while since I had seen it, and it's a lot darker than I had remembered.
Right, but to be fair, Adam, I'm guessing that much like me, you hadn't been divorced the first time you saw this movie. No, I actually saw it. I don't think I was even married, but we went to go see it together. So, you did? Yeah. This movie for me took on a completely different life this week, having watched it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not exactly sure what James Gunn's lifestyle is. Mm-hmm. I don't know where he was in his life when he made this movie. But I think it's very clear, having watched it, that clearly him and Jenna Fisher went through a divorce when this movie happened. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was about that time or just soon thereafter that that had gone through. It's just so personal. This is a very personal movie, even though it's about, a dude who wants to be a superhero. And this movie is basically broken up into 3 acts, where the dynamic of the entire movie changes with each act. Mm-hmm. And, I think it goes from like a very small little quirky comedy to something that it's trying to get a little deeper with the second act. And with the third act, there's no comedy at all in that third act. I think that what they're going for is completely different than what the first act is going for. Right. I can't think of a moment in the third act where I laughed, but in the first act, the comedy of this movie is not my style of comedy. Mm-hmm. This is the style of comedy that is very specifically The English Office or Curb Your Enthusiasm. To me, it's like the cringe-inducing, and I have a term for it whenever I watch this style of comedy, which is I want to crawl up my own keister whenever I'm watching this style of comedy. But because it's only the first act that this happens in, to me, even though this is by far, and it's not even close, in my opinion, the weirdest movie we've ever seen, I was not for a single second bored out of my mind with this movie. Like, it's weird for sure. and it's hard to watch for sure at times. But it is so interesting, and it is so fascinating watching this movie that, you know, I don't know the next time I'm going to see it, to be honest with you, but it's one of those things where it's like, wow, I'm really glad that I revisited this movie, because one, not only does it work on its own terms, but two, it does the thing that a lot of good movies do, which is it makes you, it reminds you that you've seen it. You know, like this week I saw Hell or High Water in the movie theater.
Great movie.
Terrific little movie. It's terrific. And things come up during, you know, your day-to-day life where you're like, oh, wow, yeah, that's right. That happened in that movie. And to me, that is the benchmark of a very good movie. And this is one of those movies where when you're watching it, you literally, you sit through it. It's a good movie. And you don't know that it's affecting you until the next day, where you're like, wow, that is a darn good movie right there.
Yeah, for a full review of Hell or High Water, head on down to thefilmfind.com. But yeah, so Rainn Wilson plays a guy who's just kind of a short order cook in a little diner there and everything, and somehow he's lucked out and married Liv Tyler, and I'm just like, if we could all fall backwards into that pile of money of life.
Well, they explain it. I think they explain it very well.
Oh yeah.
Why the hell would that girl be with him otherwise?
It doesn't make sense
at all. You know, it's very King of Queens in the beginning, because you're like, why would that girl ever be with that guy? And then they explain it later in the second act. They go, hey, here's why that happened, and it's like, movie, good on you, good job by you. You did it again. Did James Gunn write this script?
He did indeed.
Yeah, but it's pretty bulletproof, the script of this movie.
Yeah, and that's what's nice about it too. It goes in a kind of non-linear fashion, not like, you know, as crazy as like, you know, Citizen Kane or Pulp Fiction or anything. But you do get some nice flashbacks and stuff that do help, you know, kind of pad out. I won't say pad out. That sounds derogatory. Fill out the story. And kind of fill in some gaps and stuff, and does it in a way that actually makes things more have more gravity to them at the same time.
I completely agree with you. And you know, when it's one of those things where one of the reasons why I like the Captain America movies so much is that Captain America movies do not insult your intelligence. Mm-hmm. You know, they know what you know, and that's something that this movie does very well also. Where, look, if you're watching this movie, we guess you know how things work with these movies, and we're just going to play that out instead of having to over-explain stuff.
Right.
And there's not any moment that I can recall. Maybe you can, Adam, but I don't recall a moment in this movie where I was like, oh, come on, guys, like, that's ridiculous. You know?
Yeah, even when you get to the most ridiculous, over-the-top things, it's still grounded and based in a reality that's believable.
Yeah.
And see, that's what's kind of interesting, because think the biggest, you know, example that I guess we can relate this to other superhero movies will be to Kick-Ass, because Kick-Ass is just a normal dude who decides, hey, I want to fight crime. Now, he does have, you know, some sort of enhanced abilities, i.e. he can take a beating real bad, but it's, you know, he's not Superman. He's not Spider-Man, right?
Right.
And so, but that even that movie still goes up to like another comic book level, right? As Kick-Ass the book does. Yeah. But this is still based in a reality, and the nice part is it also kind of delves into the psychosis of these people. And, you know, because at the end of the day, while they're all trying to do really great things, they're psychotically messed up people.
Right.
I mean, like, you know, we'll get to it in a little bit, but, I mean, just the characters themselves, when you sit back and look at it, you're just like, oh, this is clearly just a crazy person.
Right.
So you're cuckoo's bananas, and that's the person we're supposed to be going, yeah, that's who I want to get behind. Is this person who's clearly off of their rocker. So, you know, it goes down, just to kind of, you know, crib a little bit here. So Liv Tyler's character goes out with Jacques, played by Kevin Bacon, and he plays this kind of big-time, well, I'd say fairly big-time drug dealer and everything. She goes off and, decides to leave him and then go off with Kevin Bacon's character. And, that doesn't, for those of us who have been left by someone, that usually doesn't turn out well.
Well, I even like it, and it's in the trailer that you just played. I even like Kevin Bacon's response to this happening, where he's like, look, there's no good and bad here. Your wife left you for me because I am an interesting person. Like, that is that is very grounded and very normal, I don't know how things, I don't know, and I don't pretend to guess for you, Adam, but, my wife left me because my wife wanted to, be with other people. So when I see the Kevin Bacon character, it's literally like, oh, yeah, okay, that's how that happened. I get it. And so when he has that very, very real moment, look, I'm not a bad guy. Yeah. To you, I'm a bad guy, but I'm not actually that bad a guy. Your wife left you because you're boring. To me, it's like, wow, that is really honest and truthful.
Because if you
don't see in a lot of superhero movies.
Exactly, because if you take away the drug dealing, if you take away the killing, at the end of the day, that's the main reason why. I mean, outside of she did need a fix and everything, we come to find out later that she is, a recovering addict. Yeah. That really can lean on top of stuff. But no, I'm in the same boat, Sean, that I kind of found out, well, maybe not 100% specifically because ties have been cut beyond belief. But I've pretty much put two and two together that my situation probably very close to the same. I had inklings and thoughts, so no, I get it. But yeah, so I even, at some point I was just like, oh, so suspicions were probably pretty correct. Okay, good. Yeah. But no, I mean, you're right. You get it and you feel it. But here's the thing, but as you might imagine, Rainn Wilson's character, he's just he's completely distraught, wants to just kind of, just breaking down all over the place. And he said one of the most honest things in this thing, I guess, goes, people who are crying just look terrible. It's like, everyone just looks so ugly crying. There's no one that doesn't cry and look like an awkward, just awful mess. I'm like, no, this is true. Like, don't cry and look in the mirror. That's
by the way, Rainn Wilson, sneaky, one of those guys who, he knows who he is, mm-hmm. And he's one of those sneaky guys where you want to watch the stuff he's in. So if he's going, when you see that he's in a movie, for me anyway. When I see he's going to be in a movie, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to check that out if Rainn Wilson's in it. He's sneaky smart choices guy to me.
Yeah, and again, this is one of the things where, he is the lead in this thing, not your traditional leading man and everything.
by no stretch.
And but then also just leans into it and lets you know that, hey, that's what it is. I mean, there are even things, I wonder if they were written before or after, but there's when he's breaking down, he's just go who would want this with this ridiculous hair that can't do anything, this dumb looking face, right. Where it's just it's realistic. It's what every, person goes through thinking that, kind of just why me sort of situation that's going on. And he decides, hey, he's had weird visions and stuff almost his entire life.
Which is, to me, I call that the falling down method of storytelling. Mm-hmm. Because when you first meet this character, he seems like everyone else. He just seems very matter of fact. And then once you learn more about him, you go, oh, this guy is actually crazy. Yeah.
Because most people that that work in diners and everything are insane people. You just not. I kid diner people.
Please send your letters to
heromoviepodcast@gmail.com. Tell me while you working at Waffle House is not crazy. I say that, but I'm 2 minutes away from applying to a Waffle House. So who am I to talk? But no, so he just goes. He's had these weird kind of feelings. He's seen them all his life and everything, to where he basically, so to speak, can see demons and see the evil that's inside of people. Kind of. Or maybe he's just, bat crazy. But here's the thing. So he decides, well, let me see. I'm trying to figure this out. He gets a vision. He gets a vision one night. Literally, the ceiling opens up. These crazy tentacles come out, which I love. I love the tentacle stuff. I love how all of like his kind of hallucinations and everything have to do with everything that he saw on television, like the previous night. So he'd seen some hentai on the channel. He saw the Nathan Fillion as the I don't know what the heck the character's name is, Buddy Christ or something. Do you remember what the name of that character was? Yeah, Sean's probably gone and dead.
I'm not. I don't know what it is.
Oh, it's the Holy Avenger. That's what it is. I had to look it up. So he watched the Holy Avenger. He thinks he sees the Holy Avenger outside and thinks, God might have a purpose for him. Some crazy, the ceiling starts to open up. Tentacles come out of the wall, grab him, hold him steady and everything. Slice, again, this is all in the movie. Slices open the top of his head, rips his skull off and everything, exposing the brain. And I love the part of squeegeeing the brain with...
Well, first they poop something onto his brain, and then they put a paint roller over it. It's so ridiculous.
And then the ceiling opens up, and the finger of God comes down and touches his brain, thus giving him some sort of enlightenment or something. All those, we just know that he wakes up and he goes, "Hey, I've been touched by the hand of God, and I have a mission. I have to go out and kind of become a superhero, if you will." Or at least, well, he doesn't really think that just first. I think he thinks more like I've got some sort of a mission. I don't know what it is.
No, Ellen Page gives him the idea to become a superhero for sure.
Exactly. So he goes down to the comic shop because he wants to pick up some Holy Avenger comic books and everything. And it is very true, the comic book store kind of thing where he walks in and just goes like, "Oh yeah, I'd like the Holy Avengers," and the guy just calls him off for being a complete dork of like, "Oh really?" Well,
it depends on the store. See, here is the rub. Is that and I think that I've had this conversation with you before, is that is a very typical conversation that you're going to have in a bad comic book store. In a good comic book store, that never happens ever.
Right.
And we are blessed with two very good comic book shops in Charlotte. Because this week I'm going to tell you, I did something very sneaky this week. I went to the other comic book store in Charlotte that I never go to because, I'm friends with the owners of the big comic book shop in Charlotte.
Right.
And so this week I did some recon on the smaller, little comic book shop here in town, the smaller one of the two, and they were great. They were great, and I wanted to because I have a system that I used to see what kind of comic book shop I'm walking into.
Right.
I asked them, here's what goes on, right? So this is what you're known for. This is what because the other comic book shop is known for Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Heroes is something altogether different. Like Heroes is family friendly. You can take your kids here. The smaller comic book shop is known for Star Wars. So I walk in specifically asking them about Star Wars comic books. They never talked down to me. They were super helpful. And I knew what I was asking because I've been reading the Star Wars comics all along.
Right.
I asked him a point-blank question where I was like, and I knew the answer to it, and he never talked down to me. They never talked down to me in there. And it is the rarest of rare when you have two very good comic book shops in your hometown.
Who is this Luke Skywalker? What's that again?
Well, it wasn't something as asinine as
You
that.
get out of here, you piece of crap.
But I asked something that people who are it is a turning point from someone who is a Star Wars fan who only watches the movies to someone who is a Star Wars fan who knows expanded universe stuff.
No, those people.
And the question I asked was fastball down expanded universe.
Mm-hmm.
And when I asked him that question, he did not talk down to me. He explained things, and he gave advice. Those things are so rare, and I know I'm kind of getting off topic here. I just wanted to say that if I can get on my soapbox here for a second, that I think I at least in Charlotte, the mood has changed when it comes to what happens to the main character in this movie. Where and I don't know if that's happening all across the country, and maybe that's something that we ask the HMPers here.
Yeah.
But it has been a very long time since I walked into a comic book shop and people acted like they were 1,000 times smarter than me.
Yeah.
Because I don't know expanded universe stuff, or because I don't know what's happening with the DC universe right now. Because who knows what's happening in the DC universe? You know.
Are you trying to tell me that you don't monthly read Kyoto Mundi? Why don't you just get out of here, you loser?
Exactly, and that is not the case anymore, at least here in town. And I wonder if that's happening across the country. And I wonder if the Simpsons have anything to do with it.
Because there were those people back in the day, and I
oh yeah,
hell, I knew some of them in Charlotte. So.
Oh yeah. And growing up, the guy who ran the comic book shop in my hometown, it really felt like Comic Book Guy was based off of that guy. I mean, seriously.
I think that was one of Matt Groening's big things, is he was always just like, no, like every person comes to him and just goes, Did you go to my hometown? Did you go to my comic shop? Because that's the guy who runs my shop. Ponytail, everything.
Fat guy, ponytail, Hawaiian shirt.
Always.
Absolutely.
Always.
And talking down to me.
Oh, you idiot. But no, so he goes in there. Ellen Page looks very different from most people that you'll see running comic book shops. But she's in there and she just goes, and he's like, hey, so I want to figure out about superheroes that don't have powers, and you get your Batman, your Punisher. They don't go to Punisher though. Right? To my remembrance.
They don't, no.
Which would be the obvious.
She does not bring up Punisher.
I think that was the one where I was just like, okay, we're going to mention Punisher anytime now, right? But I did like, and it's such a great moment, to where it's like Captain America throws around a shield and everything and then just stops. No. And he's a super soldier. We can't, no, put that back.
Another good moment, it's like with Dark Knight, where Dark Knight, it subverts your expectations because they know.
Yeah, exactly. A dumber writer would have just put in Captain America and been like, "Oh, that's all he does is throw a shield. Who cares?" And you'd be like, "No, that's incorrect." And James Gunn's smarter than that, and that's what I appreciate about the man.
Yep. Me too.
So he.
By the way, this movie. Speaking of Ellen Page, is the first time I've ever seen Ellen Page sexualized in a movie.
Yeah, that is very true. And I'll be honest with you, I think this is my favorite performance of hers overall. And
she has a lot to do.
Yeah, she's got a lot to do. She seems to be enjoying herself, and I think
that she enjoys killing people. Quite honestly, the character clearly enjoys hurting and killing people.
Right, and that's when we get to the point where she is a crazy psycho person. So eventually, they decide, hey, we're going to join up and become kind of team members, if you will. Him begrudgingly so, or just like fine, whatever. Boy, I tell you what, though, she is fast with making a suit, boy.
Well, they both were, quite honestly. I mean, you see him making it.
His could have been for a while. He wasn't in there for more than 3 days, and she had a full-fledged costume. She was ready to go. But I do like. I thought one of the great things in here was that fact that you're right. They kind of do sexualize her a little bit in here. And he's not having any of
it. And they subvert it, which is, again, one of the strengths of this movie, where they try to they do sexualize Ellen Page, and then on the other end of it, they make it weird.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, okay, first of all, you're a lot younger. This is just very weird. I'm married. I'm trying. The whole mission here is to go after and rescue my wife. This can't happen. But I mean, so we're kind of jumping around a little bit back and forth. But I mean, I like how he finally gets his costume together. Crimson Bolt decides, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to fight some crime. And he does what exactly I think everyone would do if they just decided to start fighting crime, was you just sit by a dumpster waiting for crap to happen. And then nothing really happens. I love the journal.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a little tape recorder there, and he's doing his little journal. He's just like, I'm sorry, that was a cardboard box flying by. Stops it. Beat, beat, beat. I'll get it later. I just don't want to give away my spot right now. So good. But he eventually, the great part is that not like he goes around and then like looking for crime. His first crime ends like you would expect it to, where he gets the ever-living snot beat out of him by drug dealers, and then decides, hey, I need to take a more active approach and just beat the living snot out of everyone that I see. And it starts from drug dealers, but it also goes to just dudes butting in line. Now,
yeah. Well, again, that's the falling down approach.
Yeah.
It goes places where it makes you question whether or not this is a character to stand behind. Mm-hmm. And it's what makes this movie so infinitely fascinating and watch from beginning to end, for me anyway.
Yeah,
I can see where someone gets roped into seeing this movie though and goes, "This is not what I wanted at all," and shuts it off.
Oh, absolutely. This is not a movie that's for everybody. You've got to. I think you do have to have kind of a dark sense of humor and be able to wait for something to go in a very dark place, and being able to just roll with that. Because if you don't, man, oh man. But I think that is like the big tipping point. The original is the kind of cutting in line of like saying, all right, well, guess what? I'm specifically going to get out of this line. I'm going to go to my car. I'm going to change into my clothes, come back, and beat the ever-living snot out of you with a pipe wrench. And then when your lady talks smack, I'm going to beat her too.
Yeah.
That's the point where you're just like, okay, this guy's unhinged. It's a little bit beyond taking care of the local drug dealer and child molester, which are all great things that you did. But man, oh man, you really kind of crossed the line here of just of what's right and what's wrong. But at the same time, boy, don't you kind of want to be him in a weird little way where you're just like,
well, it subverts that feeling.
Yeah.
Where, like Ellen Page, to get back to Ellen Page for a second, Ellen Page is a very good-looking lady.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that they sexualize her makes you go, oh, wow, that's weird and creepy.
Yeah.
Or when it comes to this kind of thing where he's beating the crap out of the guy who cuts in line, they go the extra step of, not only am I going to hit this guy with a pipe wrench over on his noggin, I'm gonna beat the crap out of the lady who also let him cut.
Yeah.
And again, it's very subversive. There's something there. There's more thought in this movie than no thought. And it's why I like this movie so much. And this is a clockwork little movie. It's one of those things where when you watch it, you have to be one. Even if you have all the things we talked about before, you have to be in the right mood to see this movie.
Oh yeah, and I'll be honest, because I've had a free week, I had all week to watch it, but I didn't watch it until yesterday because you're right. You have to prepare yourself to watch this movie.
Yeah, basically.
Because I was like, oh crap, I was starting to remember. I'm like, okay, remember what this movie is about, and I'm like, oh, this is not going to be an easy watch for me right now. Like, well, right. We're going to roll it.
And actually, Adam, I'll be honest with you. While I was watching it, I was thinking about you watching this movie.
Appreciate that, buddy. But
I think that our paths are very similar when it comes to divorce and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. It's just what happened after the divorce is, things have changed for both of us.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like, where are we right now?
Yeah.
And I know. Yes, sir.
Did you run into a fan?
And I'm in we're in different places, and I want that. But that's why That's why I want to make sure you're okay.
Not jumping off the ledge just yet, but that's why I'm on a first floor apartment, making sure everything's safe. But yeah, so eventually we kind of get down, and he heads over. As we said, Liv Tyler's character's kind of strung out. He goes in, tries to rescue her a couple of times, and Jacques just not having it. Doesn't want anything to do. It's just like, hey man, just get away. I've warned you a couple times. Just get the heck out of here. And he sees her, and she's clearly just drugged out of her mind. So she's clearly, they show her like even getting shot up with some heroin at some point and everything. So she's bad news bears all across the board, right? And so, but he's just like, well, I've got to go in and rescue her and save her. So he's like, mapping out the house and everything. But this guy, he's got no control. I think that's the scariest part, is that because like he's like, well, I'm going to jump over, and instead of like formulating a plan, he just throws a pipe wrench through the window there and screams, "Don't do it!" And of course, these guys have guns. You just, again, it's yet another thing that you haven't thought out all that well. Goes all the way back to the initial drug dealing, episode where he just kind of went and acted and then realized, maybe I should have thought about this a little bit more. Same thing with this. And eventually, when he and Bolte go and decide to have the big kind of confrontation and everything, I will say this, man. Because we went and saw this movie, and I had heard that Roger Ebert, R.I.P., had actually, he did not like this movie. Like, a lot did not like this movie. And he actually went through and gave it a really bad grade. But worse than that, I mean, not liking a movie, fine, whatever. He actually went through and spoiled it in the review, like hardcore spoiled it. Now, we talk all on this show of spoilers, so you're going to always hear the spoilers here, as I think anyone who listens to this show on a regular basis understands at this point, right? But he spoils and I won't even say it just in case you haven't seen it, but he spoils what happens to one of our main characters, like, within the first paragraph of his review. And really just excoriating this whole thing because he did not understand what this movie was about. He did not get it. And man, oh man, I was never so happy not to have read a review. Because we went to a restaurant right after to get some food, and I was pulling it up on the phone. I'm like, well, I heard Roger Ebert spoiled this thing, man. Let's see what he spoiled. And right there in the first paragraph, he describes in pretty decent detail exactly what happened. I'm like, wow, what a really kind of jerk move that was. But there's some surprises in here, and some pretty decent action for something that was shot on a pretty low budget.
It's super low budget, and good job by them that it doesn't look like it. This is this movie is just made by people who are good at their job.
Exactly. And then, I mean, but see, that's the thing. And I've always said this is James Gunn does the smart thing and, just surrounds himself with, super talented people. I mean, you even have like somebody like who at the time, Tyler Bates, not really a big name in the music, game and everything. And now is one of the most sought after composers that's out there right now. He did everything from your Guardians of the Galaxy to John Wick, and he's just.
Oh wow, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Tyler Bates got pretty big. He did help with the Watchmen sound score and everything. So I mean, the guy's gotten pretty big. So he's kind of grown up, and like all these people have all kind of gone up. Like again with. Nobody was putting Nathan Fillion in a movie in 2006 or whatever with Slither, nor Michael Rooker was kind of quote unquote past his prime at that point. We're way divorced from Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer at this point. But he goes and he takes these people and just goes, hey, these are my people. They may not have the biggest following and everything, and they've all grown tremendously well. And I think that's such a smart move on his part and everything, and just kind of sticking with that kind of repertory company and everything, and to where these people have all been in all of his subsequent movies and everything, which is pretty dope.
Agreed. And it seems like Rooker likes working with James Gunn. He's in everything he does.
Yeah, and I've known some people that that know Rooker and everything, and while he comes off exactly like Michael Rooker, he's also one of the nicest human beings ever. He's just like he's that gruff uncle who's is super nice to everyone. So he's one of those.
Well, the thing that you're going to find over and over again is that when there's people who work all the time, it's for a reason. It's because they're easy to work with.
This much is true. So the big thing goes down and everything, and the movie ends in the best way. Because it doesn't end with the picturesque thing that's going on, and it's nice because it's not what a Hollywood movie would do. He doesn't get the girl, he doesn't end up, but he decides, hey, here's what my place is in life, here's what I'm kind of meant to do and everything, and he's okay with it.
Yeah, and it makes sense for the script. It makes sense for the movie you're watching.
Exactly, and it just shows you that things in life happen for a particular reason, and you do your best, you move on, and decide that, hey, this is where I'm supposed to be here for a reason right now, and it certainly resonates with me. I'll tell you that much. So let's get down to it. Before we get to our final review here and everything, we have to find out how this movie relates back to our good friend Sylvester Stallone, and I got a good guess in mind is where we're going. All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh, okay.
Michael Rooker plays the role of Abe in Super. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Episode 9, to be exact. HMP's now classic Guardians of the Galaxy episode. Man, was Bruce great in that episode. Hey, you were there too, Adam.
Ah.
Anyway, if you're wondering who Michael Rooker has worked with, it's a better question to ask who he hasn't worked with. What about Jean-Claude Van Damme? Hell yes, he has! A cinematic masterpiece known as Replicant, a movie where scientists clone a serial killer in order to catch him. And Van Damme stretches the boundaries of what's considered acting. What about Schwarzenegger? Surely Michael Rooker hasn't worked with Sixth Day! Work with him on the Sixth Day! The movie that takes place in the way distant future in the year 2015. Michael Rooker has also worked with Tom Cruise, Steven Seagal, Al Pacino, and a man whose spirit animal is Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone. As I've stated on this podcast before, Rooker is one of the few actors who go on record as saying he loved working with Stallone, which means he worked with Stallone post-Copland, which from this point forward I'll be using as a dividing marker for the insane Stallone era and the kinder, gentler, older Stallone era. Rooker worked with him on Cliffhanger, which is also a movie we've talked about before. So I want to take this time to talk to you about Mike Rooker's experience on this movie. His experience on Super. This is his actual own words. It was mayhem. No, not really, I guess. James Gunn tried to keep everything really organized. He had a good AD department. Everyone was professional, by which I mean all the actors, of course, had a lot of good experience, and the crew did as well. So even though the budget was small, everyone was dead on and worked really hard. You have to when you do a little one like this, because you don't have time to waste, and there is no time. There's no money. In these kind of productions, time is definitely money. So you screw up a day or you screw up a shot, you may not get a chance to go back and get that shot and redo it that day. And that, HMPers, is some good old-fashioned backpedaling. The kind of backpedaling you very rarely see nowadays, where someone says something in an interview and they go, "Oh crap, I may want to work with that person again." And Mike Rooker clearly liked working with James Gunn enough that he worked with them again for Guardians of the Galaxy, so it couldn't have been all that bad. But he started by telling you the truth. It was mayhem. He had a bad time working on this show, and I think we can all clearly see that he wanted to work with that director one more time. And HMPers, that's it. There you have it. This week's Stallone Connection. Now, Bolty, let's review this movie so we can go back to whatever it is we do.
I'll tell you this much. I hear he also got paid. Like, I hear he took like a slightly lesser paycheck, and they made up with the rest of it with Good and Plenty.
Nobody likes Good and Plenty. What are you talking
I don't know. He's eating Good and Plenty in this movie all day long. So
He is indeed.
I don't either. I'm just like that's like Good and Plenty is like something your mom gets and you're just like, do you want some of this? You're like, no, get it out of my face. What?
No, I don't, old person.
That's how your parents would get you to like, oh, they're not going to eat this disgusting crap. So you won't ask for this.
I do that with ice cream with my kids, where I'm like, oh, the kids will never eat this.
You guys want pistachio? Oh, get it out of here, old man. Where's my Rocky Road?
Just so happens to be my favorite ice cream flavor.
Look at me. See, you and me, buddy. All right, let's get down to it. We don't have traditional grades here. We have the good old-fashioned Robin rating system. What in the heck is a Robin rating system? Well, to get a gander of it, you can go to facebook.com/HeroMoviePodcast. It's right up there as our banner image and everything. And hey, man, while you're there, why don't you throw a little thumbs up like on there, man? We're almost up to 2,000 people. We really appreciate that. So with Super, I gotta say, like I really enjoyed it back in the day, and I can say that now, having it been like 6 years removed at this point. Really enjoyed it a whole lot then, and enjoyed it a lot now for a lot of different reasons. It is not the easiest of movies to watch, depending upon your kind of mood and everything. It is it's a dark movie. There's some funny stuff in it. There's some comedy, as you're often want to do with some James Gunn. But you got to watch out. Be careful of what you kind of watch and everything. But for me, man, this is a very, very solid Tim Drake in this department here. I own it on Blu-ray. We'll watch again, Mr. Keenan.
Me too, man. It is the most solid of Tim Drake's. This is one of those movies, though, you can't watch it in mixed company. Mm-hmm. Especially with that scene where Bolte basically rapes the Crimson Bolt.
Hey, Grandma, get in here. We got a new movie to watch.
That is a very, very hard scene to watch in mixed company. This movie to me is one of those things where it was made during the time where they were making a bunch of movies like this, where they were trying to subvert the superhero genre. Mm-hmm. And this is the best of those, because there was that weird Woody Harrelson one that is not good. Mm-hmm. And then there's Kick-Ass, which is pretty great. And then there's this one, which to me is the best of the three. There's
a Michael Rappaport one as well.
There is? Really?
Yeah.
What one's that?
I think it's not. I feel like it's called. I can't remember. I off the top of my head, it is just. I want to say Super, but that's clearly the movie we're doing now. But it's something similar to that.
Of the three that I've seen, this is my favorite one of the three. It's the smartest of the three. Kick-Ass is very, very good, but I really like this movie. And it's a fastball to me because of, me going through a divorce and, my wife not wanting to hang out with me anymore. And there is that weird moment, too, where there's the guy, Kevin Bacon shows up. He's like, hey, is she here? And the guy makes breakfast for him and stuff. Like, I have almost that same experience, except I didn't make breakfast for the guy. So,
I'll share a dark moment real quick. While we still had some kind of problems and stuff, my wife at the time got sent out of nowhere. A friend of hers who lived several states away and everything, they'd played like online games with her and a whole bunch of other friends and whatnot, sent her an actual computer because her computer was old and crappy, and like she could not understand why this would upset me. And so, it turns out I was right in my assumptions. But be that as it may, so there are those things. There are, there's so much that's relatable in this movie. Maybe not a 1-to-1 ratio, but you're like, right. No, I get that.
Yeah, I know what that is. I've been there.
I can understand well enough.
Exactly. So that's what makes me think about the James Gunn going through a divorce with Jenna Fisher thing here, is that, he clearly has those experiences under his belt when he writes this movie. And so I just really like this movie. I think that I think it's kind of bulletproof for what it is. Mm-hmm. Like you're not going to make a better version of Super. And so it's very, very hard to watch at times, and I understand if somebody hates it, but I really like this movie, and it's a Tim Drake.
Big fans. All right, everybody, that is it for this week. Next week, well, for the next 2 weeks, because we're going to split them up and everything. You've missed him. We all have. But Bruce Leslie will be back in studio. Well, not in studio. He'll still be over where he's at. He'll be back on the mic. Let's put it that way. That's more correct. Bruce Leslie will be back next week, and you guys are going to get 2 episodes. First one covering the first half, second one covering the second half of Luke Cage is coming out on Netflix, man. And let me tell you, I am excited. The more I see about this thing, the more I am super, super pumped and excited. It comes out on this Friday, so binge that bad boy as fast as you can. We'll be talking about the first 6 episodes, and then we're going to give you a little bit of time. You don't have to go through it all in one weekend, though we probably will because we're psychotic. And then you'll come back for the next week for the other one. And then, of course, if you go down to patreon.com/HMP, you can vote on the movie that we'll be reviewing at the end of next month. And all you have to do, even drop just a single dollar bill, will help us do that, man. And we'll be continuing to do that, putting out more new video content every week up on our YouTube page, up on the Facebook. Follow me on Snapchat, so I'm posting a lot of stuff up there. Because, again, I got nothing but time, people. I don't have a lot of money, but I got nothing but time. So that is it. Sean, where can we find more of your work on the internet this week, sir?
Just go to Twitter at Hero Movie Sean. I'm there.
Excellent. And, of course, Bruce's other podcast, Heroes and Villains, now the only Heroes and Villains podcast that's out there. Thank the Lord. A little behind the scenes.
Social justice.
Mm-hmm. Fight the powers that be. And then, of course, Chubby Wizard at chubbywizard.com as well. So catch up on your comic book stuff and everything. Also a good program. And, of course, my other show, as I mentioned earlier, the filmfind.com. And, Preacher's coming right around the bend. I mean, it seems like it's a far time away, man, but you watch. It's going to sneak up on us, and you're like, whoa, that came back fast. And, of course, all those episodes are there. And I do want to say this. I can't remember the exact date off the top of my head, but you can stream all of the episodes of Preacher right now on AMC.com. Those are going away very, very soon. So if you haven't seen those yet, go ahead and go stream those out on AMC.com, and then go listen to our Preacher podcast and everything. We got a ton of stuff for you guys to go through over there. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, please do that. It is a crazy, crazy little show that AMC has put on. That is a crazy show.
Good stuff. All right, everybody, that is it. Until next week with the return of Bruce Leslie, where we'll talk about Luke Cage for that missing Bruce Leslie. Sean Keenan, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.
To it, still I'm on the run. The biggest officer that you ever seen. Yes, I can tell you now he's looking for me. Oh, gallows money. Mama always told me that. Oh, gallows money. I got some friends and we were fooling around. I got some friends that I don't want. Silent with my back to the wall. I keep my mouth shut, only breathing at all. Others somewhere wondering where I might be. There's many of them, but they won't catch me.